latest today. So today's
There is though, isn't there?
Mark, I'm an Oldham fan. You absolutely described my childhood.
Oh, it's coming. Oh! Hey! There we go, Shan.
Aw, I like that.
I don't even know what we're talking about at the very beginning of it.
No, so me neither. It was just.
I listened to it about 3 times earlier. I was like, turn the volume up a bit more each time. I was like, no idea.
No, I think it's to do with transfers. I think we're talking about transfers being made, but they haven't been made public yet. Like things that we know and we can't talk. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But yeah, and
context is everything.
Context is everything. But, yeah, Pete Wild. It just makes me smile to see. Like, so I'm just like, oh, we've got to keep Pete Wild in there.
You should have had the bit where he just says when he looks at the camera and it's like Pete Wild.
Oh, that's the change. That's the change. Yeah, so there's that, and then there's at the end a little echoey version of the first ever theme song we had.
Yeah, sounds a bit Parisian.
Yeah, I don't know why we had it. I genuinely, hand on heart, I think it was the first song I found that was copyright free. And it kind of went with Linda talking over it, which that just worked. But anyway,
hi.
First episode of season 4. We're calling this. No, wait, is it season 4?
Unless it's shit, and then we can call it the last one of season 3.
Yeah. Well, there's a very, very low benchmark to reach.
Well, I mean, I have no idea what's going on in League 2, so we'll call this an education.
I have no idea what's going on in League 2, Hannah. If I'm honest, to be honest, not much. It's been a very, very meh summer.
Yeah, all the updates on the BBC website, because I did I really like, if anyone doesn't have it set up, one of my bookmarks is, so the football web pages website is very, very good, but also just the BBC Sport /football /league -2 is very good for kind of a really good what's going on, especially now it's not dominated by Wrexham news, which is what happened a lot last season. So
and you're going to have to deal with in League 1.
Although
I don't think as much. I don't think it's going to be as much because they're a much smaller fish this year.
They are a much smaller fish, and I think it'll be interesting because they're all it's all Birmingham. Everything's Birmingham in terms of their incoming, their budget, their fans. Are we've won the league by Christmas, so yeah, I think. But as a opposition fan of Wrexham, I remember last season when they had that atrocious away record, and I had this hypothesis it was because it was everyone's cup final and home crowds were bigger. That's not going to have so much of an impact on them in League 1 because they are smaller. So it'd be interesting to see whether on the road, and they are being penalised. League 2 remaining anti-fans of Wrexham will be pleased to hear that their games are largely being categorised as Cat A games in the tiering.
Right.
So their fans are getting penalised for supporting Wrexham. So like Leyton Orient away is like 32 quid or something. Whereas I'll be paying 25 as a category B game or whatever they call it, because they've got A and then they've got A plus, and their A plus games are, I think, Charlton, Wrexham, and Birmingham or something ridiculous. So
it's a silly amount of money.
It is silly, but it's the price of success in the way that they've achieved that. So anyway, we don't have to talk about Wrexham anymore.
No, I do, because we're doing League 1 as well tonight, Hannah. We're doing a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, right.
We're not doing a League 1 this week. So just on Wrexham, and it's kind of a smug moment, is this? as you know, I love a good smug moment when it comes to Wrexham.
No.
Wrexham fans have kind of been. You mentioned Birmingham. They've been sharing out Birmingham's transfers and saying, where's the energy from last season when we did this and people were having a go at us and this, that, and the other. And then you've seen Wrexham have released these tickets that have this fan zone thing.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't agree with. However, we said this had happened. Like, stage, they were going to have to make money as a club and make it back. The difference between Birmingham and Wrexham is Birmingham have got a championship, maybe lower end Premier League infrastructure.
Yeah.
Wrexham have got a League Two infrastructure. Regardless of how we look at it, Wrexham are a League Two football club with championship money.
Yeah.
That's why there's a big difference. Birmingham can afford to do it because they've got the backing, they've got the infrastructure, they've got the history.
Yeah.
Wrexham are going to struggle on that. Or not going to struggle, but they are struggling, aren't they? They're not.
Well, Wrexham are effectively capitalising on the overseas fans.
Yeah.
One of my friends is American. His family have been over, and they've gone all the way over the UK for the last few weeks. And he has our season tickets and goes to county. So I was especially appalled by this. But on their, United Kingdom tour was going to the turf, and that and that cop end, that temporary stand that they've got, that's who will be accommodating that. That stand will be accommodating the more casual fans that don't go week in, week out. So it is what it is. The other thing that they've done, because the tide is starting to turn a little bit.
Yeah.
In terms of the fans' tolerance for, I guess, so there was a thing a few weeks ago as their kit was released. If the Americans get it before us, given that they have this tour coming up, that will be me pissed off. And then there was the whole ball handlers application. Well, ball. I mean, I don't even know what is ball handlers the politically correct term.
Yes, yeah, it's
right.
Ball, so yeah, the guy that I know at Bradford is called a ball handler coordinator.
Right. But at most clubs, it's the account. Like at county, it's the under 15, under 14 kids. They come in their kit with tells you which age group they're affiliated with. And it's about the community. So making applications, I don't know. It's just a bit.
It's shit.
But won't it be a brilliant episode of the documentary? Ball handler factor. Like you can see it already. It's just content.
Yeah. The thing that being like a ball boy or a ball girl, whatever, that's your first kind of interaction with a first team match day as a child. Like that's the one thing that connects you and the first team.
Yeah,
because you are a part of that team. We go back even in the Premier League. You look at when Mourinho was at Tottenham and the ball boy acted quickly. Yes.
Yeah,
like he was an academy kid, and for that, but that's that in he's part of the team at that stage.
Yeah,
and this is purely capitalize on anything at this stage. If there's money to be made, they're going to try and make it, but it is going to be at the expense of the Wrexham fans that have been there from the beginning. And like I say, we said this would happen. And it is a brag, but at the same time, it's a really shit thing to have to talk about because there are some good people that follow that football club that don't deserve to be pushed out.
Yeah, and they may well, depending. So we have something similar at Stockport in terms of, tolerance of new fans. So kits go on sale and there's people saying about, City kits and United kits down at the ground. And you've heard us talk about it on, about on Saturdays. But if we're we're extending the stadium this time next year. And the plan at some point, if we get to the championship, is to have a 25,000 seater stadium. Which is great, but you need those new fans to fill it. Otherwise, no point. Yeah. So the problem with Wrexham is that they're kind of behind that curve. If they were trying to fill a much bigger stadium, then I think the tolerance for new fans would be higher because they're not taking up someone's space, if you like, in the kind of simplest terms.
They are, as it stands, Wrexham could fill their stadium with local people.
Yes.
On a match day, but they're not doing that. They're setting aside X amount for people who want to come from all over, and that is where, and it's going to cause issues. You're going to see it because here's the people that have gone to, you talk about the turf, people that have gone there for years when there were only 3,000 fans there, when they were at the lower end of the National League because they were struggling. It's going to get to a point on match days where that's not going to be somewhere they can go because it's going to be full of tourists, people who are standing there who, we've had it. I had someone arguing with me on Twitter, and they were, I think they called themselves a lifelong Wrexham fan, and it turns out that they'd followed since 2020. But what they meant was they've never followed another team. Well, no, it wasn't even pre-documentary. It was whenever season 1 was, or whenever Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, no, that was. So 21-22 season was the first season of the documentary.
And they took over mid through 2020, 2021, didn't they? Yeah. So that's when, and this is what that person meant was, I've never followed another football club.
Right.
So for them, that's like, I'm only a Wrexham fan. It's like, right.
And fairness to them, I've seen plenty of tweets over the last couple of weeks saying, that they've watched them on this Rex Coast tour or whatever it's called. And that's now that, now they support Wrexham, and, they're trying to build a great global brand. And they're definitely going about it the right way. Speaking
of the Rex Coast tour, Hannah, did you see the women's captain?
Yes.
Oh, that's a little bit tone deaf, isn't it? And I felt bad for it. I don't think she meant it as in, like, I would do this. I trash Bradford as a city.
Yeah.
We all trash where we're from, but at the same time, you can't go, this new place that brought us is so much better than where we are.
And, it's LA. It's better than most places anywhere, especially
during the day.
Tourist. True. But she, in that context, because context is everything, is there as a brand ambassador for Brand Wrexham. And Brand Wrexham is about the community and the local area. And so, I mean, I'm sure that they will have had extensive media training in a way that is not normal for a player at that level. I mean, we know from, that it's not unusual that we would interview someone who has never been interviewed before and certainly has not had media training or coaching.
Aside from Osama Ashley.
Right. Well, he was thinking, he's back.
He is back, but we were his first ever interview.
I know, but a seamless transition into Salford and League Two. Osama Ashley is back and played 20 minutes against Warrington.
He did. I don't know what to make of Salford. I really don't.
They beat Everton on Saturday.
2-1, wasn't it? Yeah, 2-1. By the way, looking like quite a strong Everton side, it seemed.
It was. And Ben Woodburn scored and Dan Chester's. So Ben Woodburn was in Pinatar with Stockport County and apparently signed for Salford whilst wearing Stockport County training kit at Stockport County's training ground, which I find very funny. But he, so he scored, which is good start for him.
And Chester's. Chester's is another good start. Signed from Barrow, didn't they?
Yeah. Obviously they've got oh my god, what's his name? Cole
Stockton.
Cole Stockton. I couldn't remember whether Cole was his second name or his first name.
No,
I was thinking like Cole Burton. No,
he played for Burton. But mind you, to be fair, they do say that statistically within the next 12 months you'll never be more than 6 foot from someone who has played for Burton.
Yeah,
because Burton are just buying everybody at this point. It's pointless.
But they've not had a brilliant pre-season. Well, I mean, pre-season's pre-season, isn't it? And I think
Yeah.
One thing that I keep telling myself, although now I've gone giddy again because I've gone the other side. When we lost to Oldham, I was very much like, it's preseason. Preseason is about losing. It's about kind of working what doesn't work as much as what does. You know, you can't really talk about tactics. It's about game minutes. It's about match fitness. It is not about the result.
Yeah.
And then we beat
but
Stoke on Saturday, and I'm like, yes.
It's regardless of what, you know, I know that people say it's about minutes and it's about fitness.
Yeah.
But it is about the result. You want to see. You never ever want to see your team not win.
Well, no. And Swindon, I spoke to Swindon Ben about some of their kind of incoming potential transfers this morning, and he said, I said, oh, we lost to Oldham. He's like, oh, we lost to Eastleigh. So
we've lost to everyone.
Are yours back from Austria now?
Yeah, we got back from Austria. Yeah. Which, by the way, no, you won't get me doing that. We played SV Reed, I think they're called, or Riot, whatever they're called. But we played their reserve side, and they're already, I believe, like a lower side themselves. We won 2-1. Andy Cook came off the bench and scored within a minute. And
you still got Jay Young?
We have still got Jay Young, yeah. Obviously, Youngie had surgery before the season ended, so it's a longer thing. But
he's been playing on grass.
Yeah, he's playing. Yeah. He's playing.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a very, very strong forward line. We just need someone to step up because no one has. And I was weirdly going back through tweets where people had slagged off Andy Cook last season because he had a period where he didn't score, but I think every player does. No player. It's very, very. It's unusual for a player to just consistently score every single week. Yeah. And he had this period where he didn't, and people were jumping on him. And towards the end of the season, they were jumping on him about it as well, saying, "Oh, if he'd done this more, if he'd been consistent for over Christmas, we'd have been all right." And it's like, well, hang on. There was like a 5-week period where he was injured and not in the team. No one else stepped up. No one else scored goals. That was the opportunity. I'm excited to see what Callum Kavanagh can do this season. I think he's going to be great for us. I think Young, Cook, and Kavanagh will be a great front three. Verdane Oliver left our Austria camp early, apparently, allegedly. I would hope that if he has done that, it is a move and a permanent move because he is our highest earner.
Right, so frees up some wages.
Yeah, and I still believe Tyler Smith will go on loan to Swindon because we have a token Swindon loan every year.
You've got Sauce as well, and in the right conditions, he is a goal scorer himself. But in terms of kind of driving it forward and the physicality, he was at ours on Saturday, watching County and Stoke, but in his Bradford kit.
Was he wearing his Bradford gear?
Yeah.
Fair play. I like it. I respect it. Other than that, I am so disillusioned going into this season, and we haven't signed a player. I don't know, aside from Tyreek Wright, and you can't really
early though.
Yeah, but Hannah, we haven't done anything since the beginning of June.
Really?
Aside from Tyreek Wright, who we brought in on a permanent from Plymouth, but he was on loan to us last season, so we can't really count him as a new player because he's part of the squad that finished the season. So we needed to add to that squad that finished the season. We've signed Sars. Sars is the signing for me so far for us.
Yeah, he's good. He's a workhorse.
You've got Byrne, and I've mentioned before.
Oh, I forgot
nice
about
player.
him.
Yeah, nice player. Exactly. Nice player. Why you forgotten about him? Because he wasn't an integral part of what you guys did.
Because he was Horse's backup. And the difference between last season and the season before is that Fraser Horsfall was one of the possibly the only player last season who didn't have injury issues. So Neil Byrne just didn't get the chance to play until we'd go to like a back five.
Yeah. And the thing with Byrne is that Byrne was at Hartlepool. He played alongside Timmy Odesina. We signed Timmy Odesina from Hartlepool, and he couldn't get in our squad. We put Timmy Odesina. Bear in mind, we paid money for Odesina. Byrne was available on a free transfer, and we took Odesina because we felt he was the better player. Byrne, so out of the two, we signed Odesina. Odesina couldn't get in our team, so we've now signed the guy that was not as good as him at Hartlepool. And we've signed Byrne. Then we've got, obviously, I think Callum Johnson from Mansfield, again, could be a great player, been injury prone, or not injury prone, but had some injuries. And then we've got Aidan Baldwin, again, County fans, Notts County fans, saying the same. He's not going to play every game. We need players that are going to drag us there. And so far, we've only signed one.
It's funny because both Baldwin and Bostock, I know Bostock's gone National League.
Solihull.
Yeah. They on their day could be brilliant, but were incredibly inconsistent.
Yeah. And we can't afford to be inconsistent because we've been too inconsistent. There was a thing earlier about the squad and the team. People are kind of already talking about when will Graham Alexander walk. That
in terms of lack of investment, I mean, could it be that you've got, what's your man called, the recruitment?
Stephen Gent.
No, the new one. David Sharp, right.
He's football operations. We still have a head of recruitment.
Oh, okay.
And the issue is
also the recruitment whisperer, no?
Well, yeah, but the issue is every player anyone that we bring in or anyone that we're linked with, all these trialists that we've had have got one thing in common: the northeast of England.
Oh, really?
That's where Stephen Gent is from. They've all played for Middlesbrough, Sunderland, Hartlepool, Spennyburgh, any of those clubs up there.
Interesting.
We had Spennyborough's keeper on trial for our first game.
Spennyburgh or Spennymoor?
No, is it Spennyburgh or is it Spennymoor?
Definitely Spennymoor.
Hang on.
It's Gainsborough.
No. It's Spennyburgh the one. Spennyborough's the one in Brighouse, isn't it?
Oh.
Let me have a look.
Maybe David.
Spenborough. Do you know, Anna? Do you know the worst part?
Go on.
I live in Spenborough. I say I live. It's half a mile down the road. Spenborough Baths. Anyway,
maybe David Sharp is I mean, you weren't that far outside last season. Maybe it's more of not a consolidation, because I know that that's not the plan, but actually we've got all the tools we need.
We haven't though, and this is the issue. We towards the end of last season we put a run together. Fine. My dog's been an arsehole. Don't know if you can hear her. She's being a prick outside.
Oh, yeah,
for anyone who's listening, my dog's an arsehole. She's available for permanent transfer. I reckon I could ship her out before Bradford signed another player.
I was going to say, or before Liv gets home.
You know, she's home. She's dealing with dog outside. Yeah, I can hear her running around going, get inside. No, I think that we had a run at the end of last season, and it was a great run. But we didn't have a team that could do it for 46 games, and we need a team to go up, because if we're going to challenge like they want us to challenge, you have to be a team that can kind of, once you hit form, you keep going. You guys did it. You had a shit first 10 games of the season last year, and then once you hit form and you found it, you were unstoppable.
Yeah.
If we don't do that,
for a bit.
Pretty much you were.
13 games, and then Newport stopped us.
Yeah, but then you carried on. You picked yourself up and you carried on. With us, it's like, I don't see the point in limping over the line, because we just come straight back down. If we went up, if we half-assed it, scraped into the playoffs, got ourselves up, it'd be pointless, because look at Carlisle. Carlisle were nothing special the season they went up from League Two. They weren't. They won the playoffs. They didn't play fantastic in the playoffs. The playoff final was one of the worst playoff finals I've ever seen. You were there.
Yeah, it was penalties, wasn't it? So it wasn't like it was definitive.
Yeah. And then straight back down, because they weren't. The foundations weren't there, and we've got so many players in this squad right now out of contract this season.
As in this, like 24, 25?
Yeah, so the end of this season, they're out of contract. So many of them. They signed 2-3 year deals 2-3 years ago. So they're coming to the end of it. Jake Young's out of contract. Richie Smallwood's out of contract. I think Alex Gilead signed a new 2-year deal last summer. So he'll be out of contract. Andy Cook will have another year left. But you've got to think, if he has a good season, what happens? Sam Stubbs, I believe, similar situation. We've lost Rydalj. We've brought in I just weirdly we brought Tyreek Wright in, who's a winger, and we don't play wingers. But I think he's on a 1 year, maybe on a 2 year. I don't know. And it's like we're gonna at the end of the season have to start again anyway. So we kind of need to do some work now. And I just, like I said, I'm completely disillusioned. I'm not ready for the season to start. I have an idea in my head of who's going to win League Two or who's going to get promoted from League Two this season. Like in my head, I already know who it's going to be. Who do you think? Who do you think is going to go up, Hannah?
I think up there are going to be Port Vale.
They made some very good signings.
They've got Ryan Crowsdale. Not that automatically guarantees them promotion. I think MK Dons.
Yeah, MK Dons will be.
Other than that, I don't know. You see, I know that Gillingham fans are being typically cocky about their prospects for this season, but they were this time last season, and they had a brilliant start, and then it went to shit. Who else is there? I'm trying. Like, I don't think I've seen much from the. I'm thinking about the strengthening from teams from last season.
Do you know who I think?
Carlisle as well, I think. I mean, I feel like Carlisle are going to go one of two ways, and they will either not almost be like an MK Dons from last season in terms of they've, MK Dons came down into League Two with a new manager, with a bolstered squad. They'd done their recruitment really early, and they would
sack the manager and sent him at Bradford.
Yeah, they were just kind of flat and just didn't deliver on the expectations. And I feel like Carlisle might be a bit like that, but they have no right to be, or they're massively underperforming on that. If you look at the squad, you look at the players, the level of investment, the new signings, they should absolutely walk it. But I've just got this feeling that it's not going to happen.
I feel the same. There's one team that I think is nailed on for top three.
Oh, go on.
Mentioned Doncaster.
Oh, fuck off!
I swear, Hannah. So obviously, weirdly, our pre-season has been.
I forgot that they existed as well.
Well, our pre-season has been so flat, and
right
with everything that's been going on. And do you know what? Like, I was with everything that went on with me and Bradford. Like, I was pissed off, and at the same time, I was a little bit kind of annoyed about everything.
Yeah.
This last few weeks, I'm so relieved that what happened, and that I'm not working at that football club, because when you're working at that football club, you are kind of expected to be, I don't want to say toe the company line.
No, but
you can't say. So that's why you won't find really any Bradford staff really on social media. They stay off, because they, rather than kind of paint this happy-go-lucky amazing thing, they just don't say anything, and that's what the club wanted. But when I did this, it's difficult because we've got to discuss Bradford.
Yes.
And I have to be positive.
We've said this in the past as well. Like, you have a weird kind of loyalty to the club that you support, regardless of employment. But, but definitely more than me, but me too, have been kind of football club adjacent. And you find stuff out.
Yeah.
And if we were, I guess, completely neutral, then that would, that's something to talk about, and it's rumors, but it's, you are automatically in the know. But at the same time, have this incredible loyalty to not mess anything up, to not, jeopardize any kind of incoming signings, to not betray any confidences. And it can make it very difficult.
Especially when you see the work that's been done behind the scenes by the people to make these things happen. For me, I'm happy in a sense of I could not defend this shit show over summer.
No.
Regardless, if I was working it, I don't have to, but if I was in that position, I would have struggled, really, really struggled to kind of put a spin on this that remained positive. The club right now for me are tone deaf. And everyone's kicking off this morning, and I'm gonna come on to the Romany Critchlow stuff with Posh and Darren McAnthony. Everyone's kicking off over it. Do you know what the club did? Put a tweet out saying thank you to this local graphics company for wrapping our kit van, and a video of them.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
And it's like, how tone deaf can you be to a situation right now where people are saying, well, first of all, sign some fucking players. Second of all, right now in League Two, we are we are the laughing stock and the talking point because an owner of a football club has called our club out for being cheap and for essentially lying in the press, and the club are just kind of tone deaf to it, and they are tone deaf to it. And like, people think that they're doing it on purpose. They're not doing it on purpose. They are just so tone deaf. They are in this little bubble. Last season, and this is a perfect example, and I can talk about this now. So last season, I had a conversation with a club employee, a club director, who said that I had been brought up in a meeting in the week because of on social media arguing with Bradford fans, and people like Ryan Sparks and things were obviously annoyed that my name had come up and I'd been arguing with Bradford fans. And this director said to them, have you read the comments? No. So first of all, they haven't read the comments. They don't know what's been said. The other thing was, right now, the only person on social media defending Ryan Sparks and the club is Liam. And that was the conversation. He is the only person who has your back right now. And I knew things, and I was not happy with things myself. But like you say, you have that loyalty, and you kind of don't want to rock the boat, because you could rock the boat. But fuck me, if this boat rocks, we're all going overboard. And that was a conversation I had earlier in the season last year. And it's like, they're so switched off to it. We had do you remember the fans? Do you remember when the fans called that meeting where it was about essentially like a protest meeting? They held it in a little club, working men's club in Bradford.
Yes. Yeah, wasn't it? Yes, I remember something about it.
Yeah, so it was about like the club going forward and this, that, and the other. It was, believe it or not, it was the day before that Graham Alexander story broke.
That's probably why it kind of.
Yeah. Did you know that the club and the higher ups at the club didn't even know that fans forum thing took place?
Oh, no way.
Until I told them when we were on the phone about fixing the Graham Alexander thing. I mentioned it. It was the first they'd heard. Now, either they're very, very good at poker face, but I don't think that that's the case. I genuinely think that they are so kind of switched off from social media and don't really care. Because, well, look, I suggested on that 606 the other week, I gave them one idea of what to do to increase fan engagement, and 2 days later they did the exact idea, word for word, what I'd said on the 606. I had Bradford fans messaging the page directly going, well, club have listened. Yeah, but I gave one idea and they did it. And you know what? They did it. They've done fuck all else since. But there's just such a switch off from it. And I don't know what the issue is. I don't know. Well, I do know what the issue is. We're not the club we used to be. And that's what I said in my Facebook post when I called them out the other week. Right. Signings, Critchlow. So do you know the backstory of how this has come about today?
Only what I've seen on Twitter. I've not listened to the Hard Truth podcast. I've not Yeah. So let's assume that
no one
people
knows.
generally. Oh, look, and we've like transitioned into League One.
Yeah, so we'll do this, and then we'll move into League One for you. We'll do it.
No, I mean this like it's Peterborough related. So it is League One.
That's what I mean. So we'll do this. We'll go from Bradford talking to Peterborough, and then boom, straight into it.
Smashing it.
So back in June, Bradford inquired to Peterborough, and they did about the availability of Romany Critchlow, who played for us not last season, the season before, and then ended up signing from Huddersfield to Peterborough. Hasn't really worked out from at Peterborough. He hasn't had the game.
Swindon at some point as well.
Yeah, Swindon, Hartlepool. He played in the cup game against.
Yeah, that's I remember. Yeah, Salford, I remember that.
Yeah, we went into that conversation, and Dara has kind of said the club got in touch on two fronts. So first front is that the club contacted Barry Fry, who's still involved with the club. He's a fucking nutcase, and I love him because he is so old school and it's funny. Like I don't know if you never watched the Barry Fry documentary on YouTube, Hannah.
Not.
It's have you seen there's a clip that used to get shared around of him negotiating with someone in his office, and he has a little fucking gavel. And he like negotiates the deal, and then he slams it on the desk and he goes, "Sold to the fat bastard in the black," or whatever he's wearing. Like he's just that sort of person. Well worth a watch. It'll really open your eyes to how certain things used to be run at football clubs. So we've contacted him. At the same time, Phil Eidson, who does the Hard Truth with Dara, has contacted Dara regarding the availability of Romany Critchlow. Now, Dara has said that publicly today, and has said that obviously Phil's not going to contact Dara about the availability of Romany Critchlow unless somebody from Bradford, and Phil has obviously contacts at Bradford. He speaks to Ryan Sparks, he speaks to the club. He's not going to do that unless he's told to or asked to. So they contacted on two fronts. So they were very, very transparent with Peterborough. Romany Critchlow is available. I don't know if I can say what his fee is, but I don't think Dara's put that out. But there's a fee to buy him. And if there's a loan, you need to pay his wages. Yeah. So Bradford have gone in with a figure that is, Hannah, it's insulting. It is below the average of a League Two footballer's wage. I'll send you the actual figures.
With the expectation that Peterborough would continue to pay the other half, or
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Peterborough would continue to pay about 70% of his wage.
Okay.
We can't afford to buy him. We can't afford the amount. So Dara's just spoke about that openly and said that he couldn't believe that a club the size of Bradford have kind of pulled that. When I got the text from Barry Frey, I was a little bit taken aback by it. TNA, local Bradford paper, have put it out this morning and done a little write-up on it. The club have contacted the TNA and said, it's not true, we never inquired about Romany Critchlow. You can go back through the DMs. Yes, they did. The proof is there. We've got proof of it. Like it happened, and them figures are there as well. It happened, and it goes back a long while. I don't know why the club would deny it. It would be better for the club to come out and go, we inquired, his services are above our budget for that position.
Yeah.
And we're looking at others. And that's fine. But to come out and say it's not true, Dara has then replied to the article going, what would I gain from lying?
Right.
And so now we're at a point where everyone kind of, weirdly, Dara is kind of put on this pedestal as that's what people want from a chat in terms of transparency and openness.
Well, I was just going to say, like, he is known for being very open and honest. Like all the stuff about Johnson Clark Harris, when they were entertaining offers for him, he was very transparent about Charlton and, different kind of offers that Wrexham, different offers that had been made or hadn't been made. Yeah. That's what he does.
And and so you can't come out and call that person a liar because that person has so much credibility amongst fans of all clubs. If people hear him speak, people go, well, he's telling the truth. He's not going to lie because he's got no reason to. And right now, it is very easy for either side to prove, isn't it? Because there's correspondence there.
There are receipts.
And it'll happen. And then the clubs, we're going to look fucking even worse. Then Romany Critchlow's popped up on Twitter because he has no idea. He didn't hear. Obviously, it didn't get to him because we didn't.
Because they wouldn't, personal terms and agents. Yeah.
And like for him, it must be awful because why would he come to us now? Even if we went back and said, we'll pay all his wages. No, because you really didn't value me enough to pay.
Yeah.
You really undervalue, and we know what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we've made ourselves look stupid, and yeah, that was the one for me that I looked at and went, yeah, I couldn't defend that. I wouldn't have been able to defend that. So, League One, Hannah.
Well, we'll stay on Peterborough for a minute, only because they're, as we know, they get in kind of younger players with a lot of potential.
Yeah,
they nurture them. They kind of, some of them play for the first team, some of them don't. So Kabi Shamanga is one who apparently has been linked with Swindon at the moment. Others, people, and then they've got this kind of other initiative which is just starting to come to fruition of their lads that have come through the club. And so Harrison Burrows has gone to Sheffield United. He was obviously Peterborough's captain, so he's gone there. But there, it's a constant kind of churn of profit generation, I guess, which is really interesting. Peterborough hadn't done much business in the transfer window, and then went through that whole I keep wanting to call him Chris Cornell, Chris Conclark. The lad from Rochdale, Nevitz.
Yes, yeah, I think it is.
There was him, and then there was another one, and like sensible signings. But your Nevitz and your Chris Conclarks will be probably posh fringe players for a bit. They might get sent on loan, like your Romany Critchlows or kind of whoever else. Well, Shamanga went out on loan last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're an interesting one. But given for the last 2 seasons, their kind of proximity to the top flight, I might have expected to see more in terms of kind of ambition but they've signed a left back from Portsmouth, Sparks. That's it. Like they would like make the connection, but otherwise not loads. What else is happening? I mean, basically, it's all about Birmingham and Burton. Birmingham have signed Harry Isted from Charlton, who I fell in love with a couple of when was it? He played for Barnsley. He was out on loan at Barnsley when they were in the playoff final, and he was brilliant. But Burton just keep signing people, and so we've got Elliot Watt, we've got Ben Whitfield, Harry Esther. There's like this ridiculous list of players, but the concern for me would be it's now the end of July. You've got a goalkeeper coming in who hasn't really had a pre-season to speak of. They might have a game. We've got 2 games this weekend. Carlisle, interestingly, on Saturday, but Blackburn on Friday night. So not had too much of a pre-season. And I know what it looks like when a team gets promoted and does heavy recruitment, and you've suddenly got a team who are not used to playing together. And we've had this a little bit, like our recruitment this summer has been really impressive. It was relatively early, and we're still adding to it. So Tayo Adaramola's come in on loan. Michael Mellon has come in on loan. So we're doing like it's the loan market now.
Did he go off injured on Saturday, by the way? Did he go off injured, Mellon? Yeah.
And what's the saying? The more things change, the more things stay the same. So Stockport County already has an injury crisis, and it's the end of July. So
but your season didn't start until October.
Well, right, this right, but what we've achieved by going early and then kind of stopping is that they have had time to gel, and you've seen that particularly with Lewis Bate and Jack Diamond. Obviously, Lewis Bate was at MK Dons last season, came from Leeds, and Jack Diamond was,
by the way.
Yeah, I love him so much. I cannot tell you. We were joking on the SK3 TV podcast that because everyone is still obsessed with Louis Barry, it's an ongoing thing. And actually, Birmingham have been linked with him, Stoke, but he's a massive and I know it doesn't really come into it, but him and his dad are the biggest Villa fans. So Birmingham isn't really a natural, but I think, career-wise, maybe, but he is, it's got a little bit ridiculous. Any club announcement, any signing announcement, you get people then replying saying, what about Louis Barry?
Yeah, have you not done enough? Like the signings that you've made are fucking phenomenal.
I know.
Why are people so fixated?
They've now played. So we had Chester Oldham, we played Derby in Pinatar, and then we had Stoke at the weekend. And you can see the progression in terms of the benefit of them getting to know each other. Bate and Diamond are a lovely combination. We're missing that kind of Tanto's still injured. Obviously, Michael Mellon was injured. So we've really only got Carl Wootton, who scored on Saturday.
Not replaced Madden yet, have you really?
No, but Louis Barry, she says, we've got this thing, anyone mentions Louis Barry, you have to drink.
Half of Stockport must be absolutely wasted.
Yeah, it's been a big July, but Louis Barry wasn't named in Villa's travelling squad for their tour to America.
That's weird because that's why they wanted him. They didn't want him to go on loan because they wanted to see him in pre-season.
Yes. So I started a vicious rumor that he was injured last week. It might be true. I don't think it is. So that would be, in terms of that kind of attacking midfield, I can see that. But my point, not to digress to Louis Barry again, was that
digress. It's
fine. Having that pre-season when you've done a lot of recruitment and kind of letting them settle and bed in is really, really important.
Yeah.
And Burton haven't had that because they're almost dripping in. Birmingham again. I mean, I don't know whether they've, it's populating or bolstering and it's about depth.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the names that they've brought in, I mean, Burton in the last 3 days have signed another 3 players, I think.
Well, yeah, they've also signed. They've signed Orsay, they've signed Godwin Malife, they've signed 22 players in total.
It's crazy.
And but then you compare it to Birmingham, and Birmingham have they spent something like 13 million?
It was. And I thought it was a little bit more than that, but
it might be. I think it's just some of the.
I
think some of the stuff, some of the ones that they've done are undisclosed, and I think just kind of reported. But there's been a lot of I mean, look, no matter whether it's 13, 16, 20, once you get above in League One, once you start spending 3-4 million plus, you should be unstoppable. You really should.
Yeah.
You mentioned there about going early and having a settled squad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry to bring it back to League Two for a minute, but
no, just don't bring it back to Bradford again.
Well, we're good. It is Bradford.
Oh fuck!
But no, there's a reason. There's a reason, Hannah, and there's a reason for it because you mentioned David Sharp earlier.
Yeah.
And this is where, when I said about being kind of like tone deaf and not understand and not maybe paying attention to what's being said, Graham Alexander said he wanted his squad complete for the Austria trip.
Yeah, which is entirely sensible. And I don't think we said it, as explicitly as that, but that was our plan as well. We didn't want trialists and,
Well, we took trialists to Austria.
Well, we did too in the end.
But then David Sharp, before we went to Austria, did an interview and said, still early in the transfer window, we can go up until this date. And it's like, well, hang on, your manager is saying he wants a squad settled in place for that trip because he needs them to be fit. And it is like, I've watched interviews. I watched an interview with Sars, and Sars speaks about that trip because he's done it before under Alexander. He's done that exact trip under Alexander, and he mentioned it, and he was like, he mentioned the bike rides. He's like, it's brutal. So you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're on a bike ride, you come back, you do 2 full training sessions on the pitch, you then have a break, and then you do an afternoon in the gym.
Was it hot, as in temperature wise? What kind of?
Yeah. I think it was kind of similar to what we've had here.
Because we played Derby in Pinatar, and their management said afterwards that they were kind of undertrained because it was too hot. Yeah. And they'd not done as much, which is interesting.
We just did it anyway. We just did the training. So,
yeah, I mean, we did, as far as I know.
The other thing is, before we went, we were told that a loan player would be joining us on the trip and signing and completing a move whilst on the trip. Didn't happen. And like I say, your manager's saying, I want this before the trip, and then the people in charge of doing it are going, well, we've got plenty of time. It's like, there's a disconnect. And when whoever's contacted the TNA have reached out for comment about Dara's stuff, whoever's done that, I don't believe that the person at the club that's been contacted will have had any idea that it's happened. They'll have just assumed, I've not heard it, it mustn't be true. Ryan Sparks hasn't denied it to the TNA because the TNA don't contact Ryan Sparks direct. They go through a full department. And that's where I think there's just a disconnect. And there's been a disconnect for a while. And it's this thing of, I mentioned to you about, it's like people don't 100% know what falls under their remit. So anyway, yeah, you want your players kind of out there. We're going for, Alexander is going for, we're not going to be the best team in the league, but we're going to be the fittest. And we're going to last the 90 minutes. And we're going to, when the teams are tiring, we won't be. And that's an approach.
Prevent injuries as well. I mean, physical fitness is, yes, match minutes, but it's also injury prevention. And
we've got so many players that last season had major injuries.
Well, now you've got our strength and conditioning guy say good.
Who came out of nowhere and no one ever. Do you know what I mean?
Is it been announced?
No, I think we might have done during the trip.
I don't think it was necessary because I didn't even know. It was only till I was looking at a picture of Sars in the gym. That sounds perfect. It was just a kind of shot to the systems team in a different kit. Yeah. And then I was looking at the training kit, which is particularly lovely with the black and the mint green. And then noticed Tom in the corner. I was like, oh, that's Tom Eastwood.
Yes, I think they announced it last week. But purely because this person, because he's young, isn't he?
Young.
When I say young, he's a footballer age.
Yeah, probably early 30s, I'd say.
Yeah. And obviously, with him being a fitness coach, he's fit.
Yeah.
And people, they were posting pictures, and people were going, "Who's he?"
Right.
Thinking that it was a player, a trialist, and people are then trying to find out who it is. It's like, no, actually, no, he. So I tweeted it out. I tweeted it out. And then I'm pretty confident the club did it not long after. But anyway, yeah, sorry, no, that was it was just, you said that about like wanting a settled squad. We wanted that, and we've not got it, and we'll go into the last minute again, and we're gonna fall behind. Hannah, I'm just so disillusioned.
It's like Swindon as well. So Ben asked about Joel Cottrell, who was with us on loan from Swansea last season. Attacking midfielder. I mean, decent, but he was always a sub for us. He came in when he was recalled in the January. He was with us for 6 months. It's not a great deal that you can say about him. But again, if they're getting players in as we're getting later and later and closer to the beginning of the season, you're automatically on the back foot, and Swindon can't afford to do that this season.
No, they were too far off last season. I think do you know something we haven't discussed?
What?
And we haven't recorded since it happened. I don't think, anyway. What fucking batshit crazy? In fact, I know what batshit crazy person does this. Who signs 15 players in one day, Hannah?
Well, they didn't, though, did they? They
who just goes,
announced them.
Like,
And I'm sure I saw when I was looking earlier that they've signed someone else.
Signed Lee Angle.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously, another ex-Bradford, Derek Adams, loves him.
Yeah.
Loves his play.
Yeah.
But like,
it was brilliant, though, because I was genuinely very concerned about Morecambe, because they had like 3 players left or something ridiculous, 3 first-team players.
And of course, Jan Songo came back.
Yes. The one thing that I would say, they're definitely not out of the woods. Every single one of those players, and I don't know about Lee Angle, are on 1-year contracts.
Yeah, Angle is too, I believe.
It's not indicative of a particularly strong financial.
Well, they're waiting for a takeover, aren't they? So I think it's a case of get the players in to get us through the next 12 months, and then we can.
And then
if we need to
invest.
Yeah, or we keep them.
Yeah.
If we can offer them a deal in 12 months' time. Plus, and I think it's quite smart. Is this? If you're on a 1-year deal, you are playing for a contract the entire season.
And I was thinking that when you were talking, God, to bring it back to Bradford, when you were talking about Bradford earlier, I did think that, with these players that are up, Thars was, we said that about him this season just gone. He was playing for his career, essentially, because if not to be re-signed at Stockport, he's, advertising his capabilities to someone else in the market.
Absolutely.
And yes, they will be doing that. But I mean, there are some great names in there. George Ray was one that kind of jumped out for us originally.
George Ray is one that when we found out we couldn't afford Romany Critchlow, we should have been on the phone to immediately. We should. But then you look at what Derek Adams did with Morecambe last time he was there. When he took them up, they had one of the lowest budgets in the league. They didn't have a squad that kind of jumped out at you, and he got them there. And I think that I wouldn't write them off doing something. I mean, I know that you look at it and you go, "There's no way," but Morecambe could finish anywhere in that League Two table this season.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't shock me.
And I'd missed this. I think it was when I was in Spain. Harvey Macadam's gone there from Fleetwood. So he's gone on an undisclosed fee, because most of the others were picked up out of contract with a sell-on clause on a 1-year deal with an option of another year. 43 games for Fleetwood, and he was there for 2.5 years. But it was... I think the timing, I mean, the Morecambe timing was hilarious and wonderful, but it was also down to the embargo being lifted, I think, wasn't it, in terms of the timing of it? So,
was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. Didn't know that. That makes a bit more sense then. It just looked ridiculous in the best way possible.
It was brilliant. So their embargo was March. And then they've settled the amount. So they signed Harry Burgoyne, Luke Hendry, Ross Miller, Max Taylor, Jamie Stott, who was at County, David Tutonda, Adam Lewis, George Ray, Tom White, Paul Lewis, Jan Songo, and then Jordan Slew, Hallam Hope, and Ben Tollett, and then Callum Jones. And they start at Walsall. I'd love to. I might keep an eye on. I wonder what they've done. I mean,
it's weird. So out of those things, he's signed 3 players from the squad that he built at Bradford. As Derek Angle, Hendry, and Songo.
Yeah. So they only had left first team players: Stuart Moore, Caden Harrott, Gwion Edwards, Sol Fox-Akande, and Charlie Brown. It's absolutely bonkers, but also incredible. And
so they still need players. They still need to bring more in.
Yeah, they do. They do.
So how far off are we? Is it 2 weeks now till the season starts?
Yeah,
It's
a week on Saturday. And Mansfield,
a week on Friday, Hannah. A week on Friday.
Yeah, so that was gonna. So Mansfield start a week on Friday. Chesterfield play Swindon a week on Friday.
Yeah.
Because actually, I was supposed to try and get tickets for that, and I completely forgotten. And I bet it's probably on sale now. But Mansfield have got their last pre-season game against Matlock on Tuesday, and then they start their season on Friday. See, that seems
that'll get cancelled.
Unnecessary to me.
You'd expect that to get cancelled.
Because we've got a special League One podcast next week.
You have,
and so that's why the Matlock Mansfield thing came up, because Harry,
I'm doing it with you.
Currently unavailable. Yeah, so I've gone to the subs bench. You're getting a call up.
I mean, I'm not even a sub at this point. I'm a reserve. I'm a trialist. I'm a trialist accompanying you on the foreign trip to League One. Have we got a guest?
Yeah, we have got a guest, a League One actual expert who is going to provide a stellar orientation to League One for the relegated team, as in the teams that have been relegated to League One and the teams that have been promoted to League One. So I'm hoping that they're going to tell us all about like the seasons that have just gone and touch on like the shenanigans, because League One is not absent of League Two style shenanigans with some of the stuff that goes on at Wigan. I mean, less so now at Wigan, in fairness, but Reading.
Yeah. There was Chef Wednesday, a couple of, wasn't there?
So lots going on there. And also I'm hoping that they're going to tell us like where the best away days are and the worst away days, because I feel like this is the education that we need. And we can also counter with, you know,
what you guys are bringing to the table as an away
day.
And
also, you know, Crawley away is a sensation.
Experience.
Genuinely, I love Crawley away.
I'm doing some Crawley games next season. I've been talking to Preston. So they're playing Huddersfield, I think, in March.
Okay.
At Huddersfield,
right.
And we're going to that game. So we're going to have. It's the first time we've met in person. Me and Preston. Obviously, I've met Eben, I've met Hunter, I met Andy Haynes, I met pretty much everyone other than Preston, because he dealt with his health and things like that, so he wasn't over much. And I wasn't on the bench versus Stevenage, so I couldn't actually talk to him in that game, like, because he was obviously sat on the bench at Stevenage.
I am still a little bit worried about Crawley in terms of their recruitment, the players that left. It remains to be seen. I mean, they were excellent in their recruitment last season, and they've, applying the same tactic.
Did you think they were excellent in their recruitment at this stage last year?
Oh, fuck no. You know this. Like, they were kind of nailed on for relegation, wouldn't get to like 50 points by Christmas.
Their owners believed they had a squad that was capable of finishing 16th.
Yeah.
That's a direct quote.
It's Scott Lindsay.
It is Scott Lindsay. And he's got players, he's bringing players in who want to play for him. And that is, you can bring in the best player in the world, but if that player does not want to play for your manager, it's pointless.
And I've said this a little bit about Chally recently. So Dave Challoner is, I think, probably quite an old school manager in terms of, he's very abrupt. He's not afraid to scream and shout at players. And I think in the past, we've had some players that kind of maybe didn't match that style. You match managers to players as much as you match players to teams and squads. And I think, yeah, with that, if you've got players that are coming to play for Scott Lindsay, they know what they're coming into. They're coming into a kind of a startup mentality type. If you translated business terms into football, that's what you've got at Crawley. They're scrappy, they're ambitious, but they don't have incredible infrastructure or budgets behind them. But that will suit a particular type of player. And I know far better this season that, well, I will never do it again, write off a team as definitively as I did Crawley this time last season. And I know better than to underestimate them this season. But on paper, they will be. I mean, they are already tipped by the vast majority of people to go straight back down.
Which again, you'd expect, but they'll use that.
Weirdly enough, Mansfield just above.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I mean, we are. Mansfield have become our Grimsby in terms of we used to really, really struggle against Grimsby, and now it seems to be Mansfield. So
I think they're a culture shock because they've Mansfield. I believe only 3 times in their history have they been above League Two. And every single time they have finished either rock bottom or in the relegation, but they've been relegated every single time. They've never survived in League One, and I think it will be a culture shock for them. Yeah. I think when they get to that first big stadium, it will be a holy shit.
Because but then they've done all right in cup competitions before. I think
it's different though, and it's completely different.
I think
the Salford City we watched in League Two last season, compared to the Salford City we watched against Peterborough in the Cup.
Yeah. I just mean like the big stadiums and that environment. I think for Mansfield, it will, they need to watch their injuries, obviously. Mm-hmm. They're another team that kind of struggles. They haven't recruited massively. I mean, Harry, that does the League One Look podcast with me, he was really, really happy at the beginning when they were signing like Keanu Bacchus, and they were hoping to get Lewis Brunt back. Obviously, he's gone to Wrexham. They've done less latterly, but the transfer window is still open for another month. The loan window is starting to, or not the loan window, but the loan market is starting to kind of kick in. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it may well burn down to, and we have this in League Two often, they are not one of the fourth more bad teams. That's horrible English. But, if there are teams worse. I remember you saying to me in League Two at the beginning of last, as in not the season that's just finished, like you won't go down because there are teams worse than you.
And that was Rochdale and Hartlepool.
Yeah, exactly. And
it was the same the season before with Scunthorpe and Oldham.
Right.
You knew. And this season, it's Newport.
Yeah.
And it was Morecambe. Right now, it's Newport and Bromley.
Yeah. Yeah, because they've not shown anything otherwise, have they?
Nothing whatsoever. I mean, they've not been a discussion to anyone, and maybe they've done business under the radar, and people are going to go shit. I mean, we're playing them early on. They'll get their customary 3 points.
Yeah,
that we give away to every team coming up.
Paddy Madden's already injured for Chesterfield as well, isn't he? He's done his ankle or calf or something.
Oh, you couldn't write it. You couldn't write it, but. Give us a bold prediction for League One, Hannah. Like you don't want to do Crawley, you don't want to do a Crawley, but something outlandish. I want you to say that I can clip.
I don't do outlandish because then it gets clipped and it's used against me, like Jameson Whiskey did when they used my quote about Elliot Watts signing for Stockport, like last week or the week before, which made me look really stupid because he's signed for Burton about I think, what do I think? Something outlandish. See, Harry, I don't want to steal Harry's predictions, but Harry thinks that Rotherham are going to be way off.
I don't.
So, because his outlandish predictions were that Stockport would finish like top 6 or 7. I don't know. It feels like there's this massive blob of teams in League One that could do okay. Like, so your Lincolns, your Oxfords, the ones that I think Bolton are really going to struggle this season.
Do you?
Yes.
I mean, do you think or do you hope?
I don't care about Bolton. Really,
you will do. You will do.
I know, but I don't feel like there's we've got so many local teams to us that I don't feel like there's necessarily any more rivalry with Bolton than anyone else. But knowing a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes, about they've had owners that have come in, and and then the situation, they've been in the same position 2 years in a row. That's not showing any improvement. They're not, so something has to give. And I think Bolton are going to be mid-table at best. There's my outlandish prediction. Come at me, Bolton fans.
Mine for League One is that one of the teams that came down from the Championship will go down again.
Oh. Blackpool.
No.
Blackpool didn't come down from the Championship either.
No,
so who was that then? Birmingham, Rotherham. Who was the other one? Huddersfield. Right. Okay.
And if they don't go down this season, they'll go down within the next 2 seasons. Purely because, Hannah, there's a reason. Method to my madness, right?
Right.
So, and I'm not bringing this back to Bradford, but at the same time, right? If you look at Huddersfield's trajectory since the Premier League, obviously they went up, they stayed up.
Yeah.
Second season, they got relegated.
Yeah.
They then had the same number of seasons in the Championship after relegation from the Premier League as what Bradford did before getting relegated to League One. I think Bradford had 2, maybe 3 seasons in League One. So maybe not this next 2 seasons, maybe in the next 3 seasons. I think Huddersfield are going to go on that same trajectory. And I've got a friend who's a Huddersfield fan, and I keep saying it to him. I'm like, you're on our trajectory. Well, last season, when they nearly went down last season and they stayed up under Neil Warnock,
yes,
we're going to kick on. We're going to kick on now. I'm like, no, you're on Bradford's. I said, you'll go down. And they went down. And like, it kind of just it went from there. And it's like, it's funny. I still think that they will go down at some stage. I think they will drop further before they recover from it.
Yeah.
And I might be wrong. It's not a dig but
it also feels like so my first ever Stockport County game was against Huddersfield. So for me, they've got like, they're our level. Like, they've been kind of outperforming their level for a good few years. We've got them on Boxing Day, I think.
Is it at Huddersfield?
At Huddersfield on Boxing Day, yeah.
Bollocks. I was just looking then because I probably can't make that. But I was going to say we'll go in the press so that you can get the roast potatoes and beef.
Oh well, you can send me in press.
I'll still send you. I'll give you. Yeah, I'll say.
I'll have roast potatoes.
Yeah, you could do some stuff. Oh, honestly, it's so good, so good. But yeah, so I'm gonna look. Being brutally honest, I'm not going to Bradford games this season. Just out of pure, just knowing the things that I know, it's not enjoyable, and it's nothing against the players. I've got players that I'm still speaking to now, telling me that if I want to go, they'll put me tickets behind the thing for me to get in. I'm like, no, man, it's not about that. It's just everything.
I think as well, going to games as a neutral is just a whole different experience. I bloody loved watching the playoffs, but the playoff games that we went to, I mean, I know people take the piss out of me going to Salford, but it's because I'm not that bothered about Salford. I enjoyed the experience of going and there being no jeopardy or peril, and me really not, knowing that the result isn't going to affect my next day or my week.
You say that, we were devastated after that Peterborough game.
Peterborough game, yeah, but that was because it was like an endurance event.
It was a screw job. That's what it was.
Yeah. Oh, and Theo Vassell,
Barrow.
who's gone to Barrow.
Yeah, cracking sign for them. We still haven't seen a Pete Wild.
No, but I maintain that he's going to be a 10-game saviour.
I don't know if you've read the messages. That's what we're waiting on.
Oh, right, okay.
That's what he's looking at, a club that needs a project, a club that's and that will be it could be Bradford. Being brutally honest, Hannah, it could be Bradford. If we don't start, the fans are already up in arms. The fans are already angry. If we don't start well, it could be. But then you look at other teams, Walsall could be a Walsall. Because Sadler's, I think, overstayed his time regardless. There's so many clubs it could be.
Yeah, and I guess, Walsall as well, geographically, I don't know where they train, but to the Bescott, it's no time at all.
It's literally off the motorway. He could just park on the M6 and just jump.
Yeah.
Well, look, we're back now.
We're back.
We're back. We've got the League One special next Tuesday. 606ers won't be back until the 11th.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks until we got another week off of the 606. So enjoy the rest of your summer. And then and then it all starts again. And I'm quite looking forward to I'm looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to the season as a fan, but I'm looking forward to the season, like you said, as a neutral, kind of seeing everything. And I'm going to watch so many clubs. I'm going to go and see so many clubs, not just in League One, League Two, to be fair. I'm going to get to go and see clubs across the board. And I can't wait to just have a nice little day out places. Have you got anything else you wish to discuss? Yes, report back on chips. By the way, Bradford Park Avenue's chips, beautiful. Never thought to mention that before. Never mentioned it. Yeah, really good chips. But they have a proper chip van.
So we had a chip van for a bit last season. It was brilliant. They were the best chips ever.
Yeah, because they specialise in chips, and it's like you can't bowl if it's your specialty.
It was a fish and chip van, a Belgian fish and chip van.
I didn't like it. No, I had it when I came to the one that was down at the far end. Didn't like it. Wasn't a fan.
Well, you're obviously.
But I think I'm very, very particular on fish and chips.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a lot to impress me on fish and chips. I'll be honest.
No, they were good. So. I miss them. We've got nothing so exciting this season, as far as I know, in terms of catering developments and Stockport County.
You'll still be putting shit in a cup. So.
Probably, although it was more often than not like a sizable cardboard bowl last season. Anyway.
Yes, I know it. Continue. Do you have anything else you wish to add, Hannah?
No, thank you.
Wrap up this week. Yeah, guys. Welcome to season. I think it's 4. It might be 5. Because I'm thinking about what we used to do on Aircast. All those episodes.
Well, at least we get to start from scratch and no one will mess it up this time.
Someone will. No, not when it's just us with control. Yes, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed this.
Me too.
We're getting closer.
Yes.
See you soon.